Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Bayou Bets. It is Thursday, January the 18th, not the 19th. I don't know how to type. I don't know how to do anything today. I didn't make a title slide. I'm just having a messed up day. We haven't even started yet. But it is Thursday, and it is January the 18th. We will remind you that bet.nola.com is your source for all the line moves and value plays, and we politely ask you to subscribe to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. Give us a little like. All you do is just a little click, a little touch right there. That's all you got to do to give us a like as we talk about everything that you want to talk about, but we know what you want to talk about. I'm here with my friend Spencer the Guru. I'm Jim Derry. Gabe Henderson's in the green room. We'll be talking big bucks in a little while. Spencer, what is up today?
Hey, Jim. Man, just, dissecting this Saints offensive coordinator search, seeing who the best candidates could be. Look like they got a lot of good candidates already lined up to be interviewed, so I'm excited to see who they hire. I just know I was sick of hearing Mickey smack away at that gum.
Smackety smack like chopping the wood. All
Oh,
right,
my
let's move it
goodness.
on. We're going to talk about Saints. We're going to talk about, of course, we're going to talk about the playoffs. Yes, we are, and it will be the divisional round games. We'll have plenty of picks for you in just a little bit, our thinking on where to go with those games, what we think is going to happen in those games. And already, Team Mama's upset. She said, DA ain't gone yet? No, he's not gone. Got to chewing gum, chopping wood. We're going to get Spencer's thoughts on, look, we kind of knew where we were going, right? Just because we thought Dennis Allen was going to be gone, we kind of knew he wasn't going to be gone. But the good news is Clipboard Pete is gone. Whether they make the right hire there, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, I take this as like a consolation prize. The big grand prize would have been they fired Dennis Allen, but fired Pete Carmichael. Yeah, solid consolation prize. Should have done it last year, a year too late, in my opinion. If they'd have fired him last year, they could have gotten a new OC for Derek Carr heading into 2023, and then heading into 24, it'd be the second year in the new system, but we can't go back, obviously. So I guess it's better that they did it now than just kick the can even further with Carmichael. So obviously need innovation in the offense. Offense is stale. I mean, it is what it is with Carmichael. So I'm glad that they made the change there. I wish they'd have done the same with DA, because his team mama was saying Mickey's acting like DA never coached another team. And the fact is he did. He coached the Raiders and was a proven loser over there. So to me, when they hired him, he should have been on a short leash. And to me, they're already making his leash too long, considering that they underperformed 2 years in a row and he lost the locker room.
Well, Jeff says, as Mickey put it, Dennis Allen is the second coming of Chuck Noll, Tom Landry, Bill Walsh, and Bill Belichick. Okay, he didn't go that far, but he did compare. If you missed the press conference, you got to see it. We're going to be talking more about this on Datitude tomorrow morning. I cannot wait to talk about this on Datitude in the morning. He compared him to Chuck Noll, Tom Landry, Bill Walsh, Bill Belichick, and I had to put this graphic together, Spencer. How about we compare him to David Shula, Joe Bugle, and Romeo Crennel? Because that's who he's compared with. When you talk about worst winning percentages in the NFL since 1990, among all coaches who have coached at least 70 games, Dennis Allen is fourth worst in the NFL, and all time, he is eighth worst in NFL history. Eighth worst. There have only been 7 coaches in NFL history who have coached at least 70 games who have a worse winning percentage than Dennis Allen. Yet we're giving him another chance. 24-46 is his record. Gabe wants me to be nice to Romeo Crennel. I'm not going to be nice to Romeo Crennel. He's got a 337 winning. He might be a nice guy. Joe Bugle might have been one of the nicest guys on the planet. David Shula, his dad was a fantastic coach. Maybe the greatest or one of the top 3 or 4 greatest coaches in the NFL. And probably the best coach that Dennis Allen didn't get compared to. But David Shula, no. That's where we are. Dennis Allen, awful.
Oh, man, it's so bad. I mean, it's going to be all these guys have something in common. They're forgettable. And guess what? Dennis Allen, when we look at the history book, is going to go down as a forgettable Saints head coaching era. I mean, if it wasn't for...
I guarantee you 30 years from now, you'll remember who Dennis Allen is, Spencer.
Oh, I'll remember it because having to deal with his BS. I'm just saying, as far as like, just when you look at the, like, oh, yeah, that was... actually, though, yeah, considering just how crazy that Falcons thing, he'll be infamous. He'll be famous for all the wrong reasons. Getting chewed out by Arthur
Well,
Smith and having Jameis go rogue. That's what he'll be remembered for.
yeah, I might not remember 30 years from now because I'll probably have dementia by then. But you'll remember for sure. Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen? Is that my nurse today? Okay, that's probably what I'll be doing 30 years from now. Just saying. But to compare, I mean, look, come on, Mickey. I said this on Twitter earlier today. I am a Mickey Loomis fan, okay? I'm not one of the people out there. I'm not going to the extreme of I think the Saints should get rid of Mickey Loomis because I don't think that's where this team is yet. But it's clear they made up their mind. But for him to go out there and we know he doesn't believe this. It's the same as some of the things Sean Payton would say. You know, I had the most watched Saints Today show I ever had was the show. I don't know if you remember this game, Spencer, or not. 2015, Saints played the Carolina Panthers. They were trying to climb back in. They had a small chance to get themselves back in the playoff race. They played the Carolina Panthers, and Brandon Browner was just an absolute dog on this team. Okay, he did basically everything he could to give Carolina this game, and Carolina won something like 42-39 or something along those lines. Cam Newton had a great day. Drew Brees had a great day too, but he couldn't do enough. And Sean Payton came out and said, get over yourself, Cat Terrell. Brandon Browner had a great game. Now, we knew he didn't mean it. And just like Mickey Loomis yesterday, we know Mickey Loomis doesn't mean that he thinks Dennis Allen's doing a good job. Why don't they just come out and tell you, you know what, we're going to give him another chance. We agree that he hasn't done the greatest job. Why don't they just come out and say, we're just going to give him another chance? Why do they have to spew this crap?
I guess it's just they make themselves feel better about it, you know, because they definitely don't believe it. So they've got to come off on the presser as being like that they've got it under control, and they just seem to think that that's the better approach rather than they obviously don't believe in honesty. I mean, if they believe in honesty, he wouldn't be spewing that crap. But that's how a lot of these executives are, you know, and it's one thing if you're getting the results. It's like with Sean, they would usually get the results, so people would put up with his BS, his just cleared lies, and kind of this, I mean, the way he'd get kind of unfair with the media. But he'd be winning, so it was like, oh, well, he's winning, so well, don't worry about it. But right now, Mickey isn't winning, and so when you're not winning and you act like a jerk, that stink is just going to get awfully bad to where the fans are. Yeah, it's going to get to the point of another losing season. Everyone will be calling it. Right now, everyone's calling for DA's head. And then if Mickey gets rid of DA next year, then they're going to, if they stink again, then everyone will be calling for his head. There are already people calling for Mickey's head. So it's a mess right now. It really is.
It really is a mess. And look, like I said, I would rather him just come out and say, you know what? We're not convinced that this isn't the way we're supposed to go. We think what we have in the building is better than anything we could go out and get, which is kind of bogus if you think about it, because, you know, in the grand scheme of things, you look at this coach's odds on team hires. This is just 3, obviously, of 7 or 8 teams that are out there looking for a coach right now. Bill Belichick is the odds-on favorite to become the next Atlanta Falcons coach. So you can't tell me that the Saints, if they wanted to get rid of Dennis Allen, would have an excellent chance. Why wouldn't Bill Belichick rather come to the Saints, which he would, by the way? Let's be realistic. I mean, to be able to come in and kind of take over this team, this is a place where coaches dream about going, because if they do a good enough job, they're going to have a lot of control here. And it's what Bill Belichick would want. Now, whether he's the answer or not, I don't know. But I'm telling you right now, I'd rather have Bill Belichick than Dennis Allen. And there's no doubt in my mind they could have gotten Bill Belichick to come here. Has a much better quarterback in Derek Carr than anything Atlanta's going to have. Let's be realistic. So that's the frustrating part of it, and that's why I put these graphics on the screen, and you look at who might be going where. It's just frustrating.
Right, yeah, a lot of good candidates here, and I know they've also got those good OC candidates, but, I mean, I'd rather them as my head coach, and then with that, you could have them, hey, a breath of fresh air taking over there, and then at that point, it's like, okay, Derek Carr, you're the bridge. Like, it's clear that you're the bridge guy, where they're still trying to act like Derek Carr is their franchise quarterback and all that. It's like, come on, man. You're not fooling anybody. I think that's the thing with Mickey that made him really look like a clown, as he's on saying Mickey's a clown. Because he just, no one's buying his stuff. Like, no one is buying what he's selling. All that crap he spewed about comparing D8 to his Hall of Fame coaches. No one's buying that. Not
Right.
even a 6-year-old could see through that crap. I mean, come on, Mickey. You got to be more self-aware than that. And so, I mean, he probably, unless he's just totally delusional, like, if he watches that back, he'd probably just like, I mean, he'd never admit it, but he probably looks back like, man, I look like an idiot in that presser. But
Well, William is asking to rank these OC candidates in order of most likely to less likely to become the Saints' next OC. I'm not sure that this is the only list that the only people on the list that the Saints are going to have a chance at getting. I will tell you who I think the favorite is, and I wrote about this yesterday or 2 days ago. The days are running into one another. The kids were home all week because it was cold outside, so I'm a little. Every day looks like the same to me. But I think Ronald Curry's got to be the favorite. That's not who I would choose. Don't get mad at me. But the Saints love to hire from within. So if I had to put odds on hiring, I would say that Ronald Curry is the favorite in the clubhouse right now.
oh my goodness. If it's Ronald Curry, Jim, I don't even know. I don't know if I'll be able to do the show that next day. I will be that sick to my stomach. They've got to go with an outside hire. They have got to. I feel like the fans are gonna riot if it's Ronald Curry, and I will too, because that'd be just completely just asinine, lazy. I mean, Mickey would say, "Oh, we're not lazy. We gotta look beyond." That was one of his quotes or whatever. So yeah. So you stop being lazy, Mickey, and go actually hire someone outside of the building. But so far, I like the names they've mentioned. The Zach Robinson, Dan Pitcher. I like Pitcher, but Bengals QB coach. He's helped coach up Burrow. Shane Waldron helped turn around Seattle. Geno Smith. So I like a lot of candidates so far that they've been interviewing. So hopefully they at least get that right.
Yeah, we'll find out soon enough. I'm just telling you. I just knowing the way that this organization has worked in the past, they think that they're. I think they fired, and they don't even want to use the word fired. Nobody wants to use the word fired with Pete Carmichael. So I think it was kind of out of necessity because I think they were afraid of riots. I mean, and I'm being a little exaggerant here, but if they started off the season awful next year and Pete Carmichael's still here, they don't want to have to go through this in the beginning of the year. They can. I don't know how they think they can avoid the whole thing if they start out bad and Dennis Allen's here. Maybe it's just easier to fight. I don't know what they're thinking, but I'm just telling you, the way they run, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Ronald Curry is the next OC of this team. I just don't know. Let's talk about some of the hiring possibilities. And I thought some of these names on this list, and you look at Carolina, and Kellen Moore is the favorite to win the job in Carolina. Ben Johnson's going to go with whoever pays him the most, and I got to be honest. I mean, I don't understand the love and just the gaga goo goo over Ben Johnson. I mean, this guy's not proven at all, but yet people are. I mean, it's like he's going to be on like 4 or 5 lists. So, and if the Seahawks want to hire Dan Quinn, go for it. He obviously looks like he's going to get the job there. He did an awful job, I thought, in Dallas towards the end of the season. Sure, they were fine the first half of the season, but they got a little banged up, and especially in that championship game, they made Jordan Love look like Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. But Kellen Moore is the favorite in Carolina. What do you think of that?
That's interesting. Kellen Moore. I was thinking Carolina might have to settle for something even worse. I'm not Kellen Moore. That's not great, but I think he could help turn around Bryce Young somewhat. That wouldn't be the worst hire in the world for them. I just don't think there's any way they get Ben Johnson. I think he goes somewhere more appealing because I think they're all going to. I mean, Carolina's got money, but I think a lot of these other teams are also going to throw a lot of money at Ben Johnson. And so if it would all be an equal, he'd much rather, I think he goes to the Chargers unless they go out there and get Harbaugh. But Harbaugh, as we discussed in pre-production, is probably staying home in Michigan unless there's a bunch of dirt that comes out. But, yeah, I don't think Johnson's going there. Kellen Moore, though, he's kind of someone that, yeah, if they go with Johnson and Moore's going to be booted out of the Chargers to where then that would kind of make sense for him. I think Carolina would be a good spot for him to kind of land on his feet. And then if he could resurrect Bryce Young, that'd be great for them. But that's going to be a tough job.
I find it interesting that Atlanta, it was Bill Belichick was only plus 250 now that he's had 2 interviews in Atlanta. So it's clear that that's anything but a sure thing. So, I mean, do we want Bill Belichick to go to Atlanta or do we not want Bill Belichick to go to Atlanta? I'm not sure at his age and just would have to start over. I mean, what quarterback are they going to mortgage their future to get a quarterback in Atlanta? Because he's not going there with Desmond Ritter or Taylor Heineke. There has to be some kind of plan for them to get a real quarterback if he's going to go to Atlanta. He's not going through what he's been through the last 3 years again.
Right. I think it would be Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, because Russell Wilson's going to get cut. That would probably be his first choice. But if Russ goes somewhere else, because Russ, him and Sean Payton didn't get along. So Russ might not. He's probably going to want to go with a player's coach. I don't think he's going to want to have to deal with Belichick. So who I think ends up, so the one I think ends up there is Justin Fields. I think they make the trade with the Bears to get Justin Fields rather than, because they'd have to give up more for that first pick than for Fields himself. And Belichick, I don't think he's going to want to have to deal with a rookie quarterback. So I think Fields is the play there. And the Bears will, with that first pick, take their future QB.
I got to say, I'm just not – someone has to convince me that the Bears are going to dump Justin Fields. I know that everybody is saying it like it's a fait accompli. I don't see it. I don't understand. To me, the Bears have the world by the cojones. I mean, they really do. They could go out. They could keep Justin Fields and try to make him an NFL quarterback, which to me, I think he has a chance. I never would have said this before, but I'm not a Justin Fields fan. Everyone knows this. Everyone who's watched me or listened to me more than 2 or 3 times knows what I think of Ohio State quarterbacks. C.J. Stroud is trying to change the thinking on that. I'm not sold on anyone after 1 year, by the way. I think C.J. Stroud's had a great year, and I'm sure Gabe will come on and tell me how wrong I am. But no one can prove anything, including like Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy's been great, and I think he's got a great future in front of him. You got to do more than 1 year. But that being said, I'm not sure why you would want to give up on a Justin Fields after this short period of time when, to me, he's been with such crappy teams that have had such awful defenses. Another team, I don't know why they're staying with Eberflus, by the way. They have such stock and equity in that number 1 pick. They could trade the number 1 pick and keep Justin Fields and shore up their defense and get a couple of really good wide receivers. I think they can shore up their offense and build around Justin Fields.
Yeah, I see your point. I just don't see them going that route because I feel like – what's up?
You don't see them wanting to do it is what you're saying.
Well, because I don't think Fields has showed enough. He's been in the league. This is his 4th year, and
right.
To me, he didn't take enough of a leap from year 3 to year 4, and I feel like he needed to do more because they knew they were going to have another high pick with Carolina sucking, and to me, he didn't show enough. He didn't show enough to me for them to be like, all right, we're committing to you long term and trading the pick again. And I feel like that they're going to have to take Caleb Williams because if they don't and Fields continues to suck, the fans are going to be like, we just passed up on a generational talent for Justin freaking Fields. So I just don't think Fields has shown enough.
How do we know Caleb Williams is going to be better than Justin Fields? I don't think.
We don't know that, but I just from his tape and everything, his arm and all his ability, I'd say it's very likely that he ends up better than Fields. He's just, he's got a freaking cannon, man. If his head's right, I know he's the NIL.
Big if.
The NIL and the money and all that's kind of makes him a little iffy, but if he's 100% locked in, I guarantee you he'll be better than Justin Fields.
I'm with Gabe. I think there's a chance that Drake May and Jaden Daniels are both better than Caleb Williams, but we'll get into that more as we get closer to the draft because we're going to be doing a lot of talking about the draft going forward after this week. By the way, we'll remind you at the end of the show, but this is we're going to go to 1 week, 1 show per week starting next week, unless there's something big going on. We're going to be only on Thursdays from here on out. Again, if there's something big going on, like potentially Super Bowl week, or if the Pels are having a huge game on a Tuesday or something, or it looks like they're going to go to the playoffs, Final Four, different NFL as we get closer to the draft, we might do 2 shows a week. But for the most part, our regular schedule, I think, going forward is going to be on Thursdays only. All right, let's get to the playoffs and talk about the divisional round. And my question here is, do we just put the 49ers in the Super Bowl? That's all I've been hearing all week. It's like, in fact, going to the bus stop this morning, first time since that we had school all week, by the way, a whole nother story. But, my neighbor, we love to talk football, especially after the kids get dropped off. We'll stand out and talk 5 or 10 minutes, but he's asking me. I mean, he's just like glossing over. He was just talking about who's going to play the 49ers. I'm like, whoa, wait, fella. We still got a ways to go. I mean, we got 2 NFC games to go before we even figure out who's going to be in the Super Bowl. And I'm not even counting the 49ers game. Are we just putting the 49ers in the Super Bowl?
I mean, I don't really see much chance that they don't. I feel like they're a pretty safe chalk favorite. I mean, there's obviously no guarantees in the NFL, but I definitely like them this week. I mean, Green Bay, they caught a break by getting Green Bay, man. I mean, I know Tampa's not that great either, but if I'm them, I'm so glad to be getting Green Bay with that terrible run defense. CMC, man, oh my gosh, he's going to go off this week. But in the championship, I mean, now that Dallas and Philly are out, it's either going to be Baker Mayfield or Jared Goff. Are you really that scared of either of them?
I don't know, man. I'm just saying this. How long? I know you haven't been doing this a super long time because you're not old enough to have been doing this a super long time. I would just say this. Whenever someone, like a giant group of people, all tell me the same thing, that means I can count on something else happening. I haven't heard a single person tell me they think someone other than San Francisco is going to be in the Super Bowl. And I'm not saying that I like anyone else, but I'll say this, that I think a lot of us, and I did it last week. I dismissed Detroit last week. I thought the Rams were my value team to go to the Super Bowl. Why? Because I was looking for someone that I thought had the chance to beat San Francisco. I thought the Rams, of the 6 teams in the NFC that were left, had the best chance to beat the 49ers. Well, the Rams are no longer in. So now I'm looking for the team that I think has the best chance to win. I don't necessarily think it's Green Bay because I agree with you. I think Green Bay's run defense is terrible. I think San Francisco, this is a bad matchup for Green Bay. I mean, San Francisco, bad matchup for a lot of people, but it's really a bad matchup for Green Bay. I think the Niners cover here. But I'm not so sure the Lions can't give the Niners a run for their money. We'll talk about this next week when we talk about the championship game, but you can't just go ahead and throw the Niners in there like it's done.
Yeah, the Lions are going to be pesky because I think they get past Tampa, and I think they with Dan Campbell, like they're going to be prepared. That's one thing with Dan Campbell. His teams are prepared, and I feel like they're going to definitely make things tough. I just don't think they have quite enough dudes on defense,
Yeah.
and even on offense, they've got a lot of exciting weapons, but are they going to be able to step up against that vaunted Niners defense? I'm not confident that they will, assuming they even advance. They've got to first get past Tampa Bay. I mean, Baker Mayfield's turning up the heat here. Yeah. I don't see him being able to do it, but
Tampa Bay's
it wouldn't shock me. I don't think they're that.
Tampa Bay is terrible. I mean, look, let's go back to a couple of weeks ago when the Saints played Tampa Bay. You can't put a single ounce of stock in what Tampa Bay did. I'm sorry. I know if there's any Bucs fans out there that are cursing at their phones or whatever they're watching on right now, you cannot put a single ounce of – the Saints would have beat the Eagles last week. I think almost any team in the NFL would have beat the Eagles last week. They had their bags packed, and they were ready to go home. They didn't show up. Jalen Hurts was sitting on the sideline, couldn't wait for the game to be over. They couldn't wait for the game to be over to get through their post-game press conferences. I'm pissed at myself for putting any stock in the Eagles as well. So you can't take anything out of what the Bucs did. The week before that, they had to win. They won 9-0 and should have lost, gave the Panthers 2 touchdowns that were called back. The week before that, they got their asses kicked by the Saints at home in a game they also probably had to win for the most part. So I don't think this Bucs team is any good at all. So if somehow some miracle happens and the Bucs beat the Lions, which I think you want to go. I never advocate for betting a -270, but if you want to bet a -270, the Lions are going to win that game. I see no chance for the Bucs to win that game. -270 is a value, I think. But if somehow I'm wrong, San Francisco will beat the ever-loving hell out of Tampa Bay.
No, I'm not denying that if it ends up. That's another thing. I mean, the NFC is so weak right now that I just okay, Chris. I see what I know he's not happy with what I'm saying, but
I didn't put that.
No, I know. I'm just saying. Like, it's just funny though that people that people are that confident in freaking Detroit. I mean, the Saints almost beat Detroit. I mean, Detroit
the Saints
is
are way
fun.
Better than anyone gives them credit for.
Detroit is well, if the Saints had an actual coach, I mean, they would be. The Saints would be in here. I mean, If Sean Payton wouldn't have quit, the Saints would still be here. That's why it's
Oh, it'd be
crazy
more
to
than
me
that.
that Sean Payton quit. Sean Payton, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But anyway, the Lions, I could see choking in this spot. I really do. I'm not going to predict it, but to me, the Bucks offer a little bit of value there at 6.5. It's not in my big bucks, but I kind of thought about it because I definitely wasn't laying the 6.5 with Detroit. Detroit has not shown me enough. I just don't think they have enough depth on offense. Laporta's banged up now, and their defense is very suspect.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers finished the regular season with the 4th worst passing defense in the NFL. And I get that they can rush the quarterback, which is not a good – if there's anything that would give Tampa Bay fans hope is the fact that Jared Goff is terrible under pressure, and they can cause a problem there because I don't love Jared Goff, trust me. And they could put some pressure on Jared Goff. But I just think that home crowd, it reminds me – I said in my column, it reminds me of the 2006 Saints, kind of like a team that maybe you expected them to be okay, but not this good. And that crowd is going to help this Lions team, I think, get to the NFC Championship game. They're going to have to go on the road. And just like the 06 Saints that had to go to Chicago and kind of got thumped, I think that could happen, but we'll see. Anyway, Chris says he thinks that Green Bay and San Francisco is the real NFC Championship game. I don't agree with that at all. I don't think Green Bay is going to look, I don't think Green Bay is better than Detroit, and I think they're what and what with Tampa Bay. I think all this Jordan Love hype train. Let's cool our jets a little bit. I think Matt LaFleur is one of the best coaches in the NFL. I've said that. What he has done with this Green Bay team is incredible, honestly, because they frankly don't belong here. I don't think they're one of the 7 best teams in the NFC.
They're the youngest team in the NFL.
Exactly. They're going to be really, really good. And he's going to – we all knew that once he got rid of Aaron Rodgers, it would be great. But I don't know, man. I think they're going to run into a buzzsaw this week. I don't think either one of these games is particularly going to be any good. But we'll find out soon enough. Look, Green Bay smacked Detroit on Thanksgiving. That means absolutely nothing. I mean, we can't go – you can't – when you're trying to predict who's going to win a game in the playoffs, prior matchups in the regular season – unless you're talking about and you're going by matchup and saying their offensive line against the other defensive line or the running backs against their linebackers or you can't go one game. You could pull one game out of anything and say anything. I mean, Buffalo lost to New England, for Christ's sake. Does that mean they would lose to them in the playoffs? Yeah, okay. I mean, come on. That doesn't mean anything to me. All right, let's move on because I want to talk about the AFC games before we get to big bucks. And you see, I got the odds here in the bottom of the screen. Very quickly, we saw the NFC odds. San Francisco, the overwhelming favorite. That shows to me, again, that's why I think there might be value in a Detroit at plus 330. Just my opinion, because I do think it's going to be Detroit and San Francisco, and there's no way they'll be plus 330 on a money line next week. That's why I think as an NFC Championship, if you believe that I do, if you don't believe me, and if you believe what Spencer thinks, and you think Tampa Bay is going to give him a run for money, then maybe it's not a value. But I think at plus 330, that's actually a value, and that's what we're usually looking for. These games, I think, are both of these games are very interesting. You might not agree with me here, but I think both of these games are going to be super tight. I actually think the Texans and Ravens are going to be super tight, even though it's a 9.5-point spread. And I can't deny C.J. Stroud any longer. I'm just not going to. And I know that they banged up at wide receiver, Spencer, and I know that they haven't been able to run the ball. And this, again, you go back and you want to use regular season matchups. So in week 1, the Texans got pounded in Baltimore. I don't think that means a damn thing today.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it's going to be an ugly, low-scoring game to where Stroud, I think he'll be able to do enough for them to cover that thing. You know, I don't see it being this romp like a lot of people are saying that, Lamar Jackson, the MVP, they're just going to steamroll him. No, Lamar's definitely going to want to make a statement. I'm not saying he's going to suck, but one thing I haven't agreed with Chris much so far, but I do agree. He does make a good point about they have come out cold after the bye. You know, that back 2019 was an example of that with against the Titans. So I'm not saying I don't think they're going to blow this. So I think Lamar is going to find a way to get this thing done. But I think Stroud and the Texans, they have a lot of fight in them. To where to me, plus 9.5, I'd be tempted to take those points.
I'm going to tell you this. You don't get 1 versus 1 in the Super Bowl very often. So everybody's saying, and I say everybody, and I mean almost everybody. I'm not really exaggerating all that much when I say everybody. I mean, I don't know a ton of people are saying anything but Ravens, Niners. And then look, I think the team you got to worry about this week, and look, I hope I'm wrong because I have a future on the Buffalo Bills, and that's the only future I have left. But I got to say, and I'm not just talking about last week, I just, for some reason, I get this feeling that Patrick Mahomes says, okay, you want to count me out? I got to go on the road. You're going to make me go to Buffalo. You're going to make me go to Baltimore, whatever it is. I'm Patrick Mahomes. Y'all can all kiss my ass. I mean, I kind of think that's where we're going with this.
I feel you. You know, I think that thing will be another close one, but I think this is Josh Allen's time to make a statement. I think this is where he steps up and proves that he's an elite quarterback. You know, being at home, Bills Mafia will be backing him. I kind of like the Bills in this spot. I feel like this is their moment. If they don't get it done here, when are they going to get it done? I mean, so I think
They're
this
not.
is their. You just don't believe it. I feel like Josh Allen's got that.
You're right.
I think he's got that dog in him. I think he's capable. You know, he's got to be like, man, he's like, because he sees Mahomes, Burrow, and I mean, Lamar probably thinks the same thing. I mean, I really would like to see a Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen AFC championship because those are two quarterbacks that have so much talent, but have yet to really do it in the postseason. But I think this is one of them will. I hope it's not Mahomes. I'm just so sick of Mahomes, especially after he threw that hissy fit against the Bills in the regular
but that's the
season.
only time he's ever really done that. I hear you for not liking that. I don't blame you for not liking that. But I mean, really, to me, Patrick Mahomes the epitome of what an NFL player should be. I mean, he's cocky because he's the best. I mean, he just simply there's no denying. I mean, anybody can say whatever they want. They can make a case for whoever they want. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL, period. Amen. End of story. If you want to debate me, okay, I'll take Patrick Mahomes. You can take whoever you want. And I'm not sold on Josh Allen. He goes through these spurts throughout his career. Every single season, he goes through multiple games where he stinks. And I'm not just talking about average, where he stinks. And I don't know what it is. And I just can't put him up there with the elite. I was having this argument with my Bills-loving, Bills Mafia wannabe son. I mean, who's got his Josh Allen jersey and thinks that Josh Allen's the greatest thing, surefire Hall of Famer. I just don't get it. I mean, I don't think Josh Allen's on that level yet. He hasn't shown me anything to show that he belongs in that level. I mean, he's not sniffed a Super Bowl. He hasn't been in one. I mean, he's not even the best quarterback that's ever played for the Bills. He's got a long way to go to catch up to Jim Kelly.
He's just the reason people love him. He's got all the physical tools. He's got the cannon arm and the legs that go with it, to where like he's somebody that if his mind's right, he's unstoppable. That's the thing. That it holds him back sometimes. I feel like he has too many mental lapses. Where someone like Mahomes and Burrow, they're so sharp in these postseason moments, and that's what they're able to like drown out the pressure. Where it doesn't matter how talented you are, if you're not able to handle the pressure, you're going to make too many mistakes. But I feel like Allen's been in this spot now. This will be his third, fourth divisional matchup. I don't think the pressure is going to get to him this time. I think he's going to be more comfortable. He'll be at home. And the Chiefs just aren't as good this year, especially on offense. I know their defense is strong, but I just don't think Mahomes has enough weapons to overcome this.
We'll find out. I think the Chiefs' defense is way better than anybody's given them credit for. They've got a veteran group with a veteran defensive coordinator who I think can find a way to hold Josh Allen down. And to me, if he doesn't start out fast, that's the key. I think this is a game where you'd probably be better off live betting it, because I think if the Bills start off fast, they're going to keep rolling. But if they don't, if Josh Allen throws a pick early in that game, I think the Bills are in a whole world of hurt here. So that's just my thinking on where we're going. We're going to bring in Gabe Henderson as it's time to get to the big bucks portion of our show here. Gabe, before we move along, little doggy, is there any particular game that, besides the Texans game, you're a Texans fan, you homer, of the other three games, which one are you looking at for most? Which one is the one most likely of a surprise? You're on mute.
Hey, mute.
My bad. Sorry, I said that's intriguing. You know, it's tough because I partially agree with you, Jim. I don't think the NFC games will be particularly close. I know everyone can say what they will about the Bucks, and this is where I'll defend Spencer a little bit here. Detroit's the much better team, but if you look at the history of Detroit, they don't win in the playoffs. I mean, I think last week was their first win in my lifetime in the playoffs. So I wouldn't be so quick to put them in the NFC Championship, but I think the most intriguing game has to be Kansas City Buffalo, and I'll get to that more in my big bucks. But that's really the one that sticks out.
Well, we'll say this. In comparing the Lions to the '06 Saints, and I think that's where we are really, because at the time, you talk about the '06 Saints, the Saints had only won one playoff game in their history before the '06 Saints came along, and they made it to the NFC Championship game. And then, of course, we know 3 years later they won the Super Bowl. So I think that this Lions team could be in a similar spot. I don't think Dan Campbell's nearly as good as Sean Payton. That's just my opinion. But they have enough talent, I think, to be that kind of team. And again, a different team at home. The Lions could be the first time since 1957, since before I was born. First time since 1957 that they win 2 playoff games in the same season. It could happen if they can beat Tampa Bay on Sunday. All right, let's move along. Big bucks, we're already going a little bit late here, and oh man, come on, really? I mean, I gotta wear
Gobble,
this
gobble.
damn hat again. I want to say that I'm doing this under protest because there are a lot of places out there that voided Bills unders out there. I only bet that Bills under because that you can't convince me that the whole change of schedule was to screw the better. Come on, guys.
I mean, that snow was so insane, man. I gotta side with the more. I can't side with the tinfoil hatters on that. To me, they had to postpone that game.
All right, if you say so. All right. Well, anyway, it's apparently snowing in the dome again. I don't know what it is about me wearing this turkey hat. I'm not supposed to wear it, and when I do, it looks like it's snowing in the dome. So there you go. We've had a lot of cold weather. Who knew that it could snow in the Superdome? But it is. All right, we're going to give you Thomas's picks. He couldn't make it today. And interestingly enough, one of these picks, I'm not going to tell you which one, but one of these is on my board as well. And he likes 3-player props. Amon-Ra St. Brown over 90.5 receiving yards against those stinky Tampa Bay can't stop the pass defense. Kind of like it. 29 to win 20. Got a player prop. We've been talking about Christian McCaffrey running all over that terrible Green Bay rushing defense, over 92.5 rushing yards. Can he do it? Well, we'll see. Player prop number 3, Devin Singletary, under 15.5 rushing attempts against the Baltimore Ravens. What do you think about that one, Gabe?
It's intriguing. The last time these two teams played, it was Dameon Pierce that was carrying the rock for the Texans, and he's since been banished to the basement. So Devin Singletary is the lead back. I just don't know. I mean, it really depends on the Texans' offensive game plan. I think it's going to be a defensive struggle, but I think the Ravens' secondary being banged up is going to lead to them throwing the ball more. So I don't hate that prop.
All right, then he's got a teaser 49ers minus 3.5 over the Packers Lions. Basically just got to beat the Bucks. It scares me because whenever you're leaving in a teaser, you're giving up so much, and then to be hanging on that 3.5. I'm never a fan of the minus 3.5 in a teaser, but I'm not the one making the bet. Tom Casale, I like his board for sure. All right, and who am I? I'm wearing a goddamn. I'm not supposed to say it on the air. Sorry, accident. Hope you don't take any offense to that. I'm wearing a turkey hat on the air. Here I go. Here's my pick. So just goes to show how bad I've been. 1-4 for the second straight week. It's brought down my overall record. I was way up there. I was in the green. Now I'm like buried in the red. All right, but we're going to get out of it. We made a really big bet last week, and it was the only one that won. So let's see if we can do it again. I love this parlay, by the way. I had to go searching a little bit for it. 49ers over the Packers. All I got to do is win. And then I got an alternate total, Kansas City, Buffalo, alternate over 42. I don't necessarily going to think it's going to be high flying, but I do think they'll be over 42 points. I think each team will get over 20, maybe barely over 20. But if that's all you got to do, if you give me a 24-20 kind of game or a 27 to 21 kind of game, I think we're good enough to get there. So I love this parlay. It's only minus 108. It started when I went to look and see what the 49ers Packers money line was with just the Kansas City Buffalo total and saw that I was getting plus 130. I'm like, well, let me do a little alt. Let me take a couple points off that thing, and that's what I did. So anyway, and then my teaser I like of the week, Lions, same piece that Tom's got there. Lions just have to beat the Bucs and the Chiefs. Look, I don't think it'll be a blowout. I really think the Chiefs will win the game, but if they don't win the game, I think it's going to be super tight, whether it's 2-point game, whether it's a 3-point game, 4-point game. I think it'll be within one score. I like this teaser here. And then told you about my player prop. Same one that Thomas has, Christian McCaffrey, over 92.5 yards. 5 out of the last 6 games he's played, he has got over 92.5 rushing yards. Again, I think he's going to pop one against Green Bay. He'll have a 30 or 40-yarder, then only have to go 40 or 50 yards the rest of the way to get there, and I like it. And then my outline, plus 171. I didn't quite have the chutzpah, whatever you want to call it, to actually take the Texans outright, but I think the Texans give the Ravens a run for their money. I think Ravens fans are nervous as all get out in that fourth quarter. I think C.J. Stroud has a decent game. I'm looking forward to this one. I know people are talking about how the weather will have an effect because it's going to be cold. Well, it's just cold. I mean, it's not going to be super windy, I don't think. It's going to be like 10, 12 miles an hour. I don't think the weather's going to have that much of an effect. To me, when it's cold, that's always overblown, in my opinion, unless there's something to go with it. And I don't think there's enough to go with it here. I think the Texans keep it close. I'm going to take an outline. Texans plus 4.5 over the Ravens. Gabe, what you got?
Yeah, Jim, before I jump into mine, I will encourage people to shop around on that Christian McCaffrey
Absolutely.
prop. I know we're using DraftKings. You can actually jump in on FanDuel. You can get his line at 89.5 for minus 114. So you get slightly, as slight as you can get, slightly better odds for 3 yards.
Yeah, I got it at 90.5 earlier in the week, and it's jumped to 92.5. So absolutely, and we encourage everyone to shop around for all of these lines. Again, we use the same book to be consistent. We may find a better way to do this next year, but again, we encourage you to shop everywhere. Shop Caesars, shop FanDuel, shop DraftKings. Go wherever. Use WinBet. You can use
MGM.
MGM. There's a ton of books to use, so we definitely encourage you to shop around. Go ahead, Gabe.
Yeah, definitely. I like that line either way. Starting with my big bucks picks, I have Texans plus 15.5 at the Ravens, and I have a tease total of under 49.5. Listen, guys, the last time these two teams played, you alluded to it earlier, Jim, C.J. Stroud that was his first NFL start. He's now got 15-plus games of NFL experience. There's going to be no offensive restrictions for that team. And then as far as the under, all 4 of Lamar Jackson's playoff starts have gone under in his career. I teased this one up for a little bit of comfort, but I think this will be a defensive battle, unlike we saw in the Texans-Browns. And then, I'm not feeling as good about this one now that I've seen that you and Thomas both have it, but I've got the Lions. Lions just winning outright essentially against the Bucs, and the Chiefs-Bills over 39, both in a teaser. I think, as much as I talked about the history when I jumped on, the Lions are a much more talented team. They're more consistent than the Bucs. This is who they've been all season long. This has been where they've stumbling over my words. This is where they've been trying to get to all season long. They've got a huge home crowd advantage. I think they'll get that done. And then 5 of the last 6 in the Chiefs-Bills series have gone over 39 total points, including the last 4 times they've met in the playoffs. So I really like that. Like you said, I think both teams will score in the 20s. I won't say it's an offensive slugfest, but and then sticking with that game, I like the Chiefs money line over the Bills straight up. Jim, you said it in your column this week. You cited me and say it with me again. We don't bet against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. That's just not something that I feel comfortable doing. Maybe that'll lose from time to time. It's obviously bound to it. And this is his first road playoff game, so anything can happen. But I think, they've got a chip on their shoulder. I like the Chiefs here. I'm backing Patrick Mahomes to get it done. C.J. Stroud over 238.5 passing yards. He's gone over that in 7 of his last 10, including 2 must-win games. He went over this in Baltimore in week 1, and the Baltimore secondary is banged up with Marlon Humphrey out. So even though the Texans have issues at receiver with Noah Brown and Tank Dell both missing the game, I think Nico Collins and company are going to get it done. And I think Stroud's going to get over 250 probably. You can get that at plus odds depending on the book you're looking at. And then my last prop, Travis Kelce over 6.5 receptions. I've got some plus juice here at plus 120. If you just go through his last few games against Baltimore, 6, 8, 8, 13 catches in his last 5 against Baltimore. You've got to pay up a little bit for the 6.5. You've got to take that risk. But the Buffalo linebacking core is banged up. I think Kelsey's going to step up again with, I know someone noted it earlier in the comments, lack of receivers there in Kansas City. I think Kelsey's going to come come in and have a big game, and I think Kansas City's going to get that win behind him and Mahomes.
Yeah, I don't think people have talked enough about how Buffalo's really banged up coming in this game. They have a lot of defensive players that are beat up, and I believe Gabe Davis is out, or if he's not out, he's been hurt. So if he's not out, he's going to be limited for sure.
Yeah, and their leading tackler last week was a linebacker they pulled off the practice squad. And let's be honest, guys, he might have performed well last week against a terrible Pittsburgh offense. He's not going to be able to guard Travis Kelce in coverage. They're going to need some extra help there. And so I really think this is going to be a big game from Kelce.
Chris, you're not saying anything that would be that big of a surprise. I'm not trying to steal your thunder, but KC gets beat and Andy joins Nick in retirement. I don't think anyone would be surprised. Certainly no one would be surprised if Kansas City loses, because Buffalo's Aunt Mabel's pick of the week. Aunt Mabel loves her some Buffalo Bills. I'll just tell you that. And second of all, if Andy retired, I don't think anyone would be surprised at this point, because he's getting to the point where, frankly, he's getting old. So, but look, the weather's not supposed to be that big of a factor in Buffalo. It's not even going to be all that cold. In fact, if you could draw Buffalo in January, I don't think it really gets much better than it's going to be this week. It's going to be sunny and 40. So I don't think you can ask for much better. And you giving me perfect weather conditions in Buffalo? We'll see. All right, Spence, what you got? You're the winner 2 weeks in a row. 4-1, 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, finally heating up. It's been kind of a rough year, but we're almost back in the green. So, yeah, hopefully we can keep this thing going. My best bet this week, Niners over Packers, is keeping it simple here. If Packers can't defend the run, 49ers have the best running back in the game. Jordan Love, I think, is due for a stinker, which is why I also like 49ers money line parlayed with Jordan Love to throw an interception. Because Jordan Love to throw an interception by itself, to me, isn't really that great of a value. But when you parlay it with the 49ers money line, then it's a solid value, I feel like. So I'll go with that as well, going all in with the Niners. I feel like they're definitely the team I feel most confident about this week, so I'm going to ride with them. Got a teaser here to Chiefs Bills over 39. I feel like Mahomes and Allen duke it out there somewhat. I don't know if we got good defenses, but I definitely see over 40 points getting scored there. And then Texans Ravens.
We all got that. We're hosed. We all got that.
Yeah, the Texans Ravens under. It's always scary when we all have the same thing, but hopefully it goes to the old cliche of great minds think alike, because Texans, Ravens, let's be real. The Ravens defense, I think the Ravens are the best defense in the NFL. And Lamar Jackson tends to get the jitters in the playoffs. So to me, all the logic is saying to take the under. And so on the teaser, I feel pretty good about it. And then my last play here is another parlay with a prop. I got the Ravens money line, as well as Justice Hill under 21.5 rushing yards. The Ravens brought in Dalvin Cook this week, elevated from the practice squad, looking like he's going to play a role. I see him and Gus Edwards handling most of the rushing work. Justice Hill, if he even gets in there, it'd probably just be on third downs as a receiver. So I don't see him getting even 10 rushing yards, much less 20.
We'll find out. That's going to be an interesting. I'm looking forward to that game. I know a lot of people are just kind of glossing over that game like it's the first one. I know Gabe's not, because he can't wait. That's the only one he really cares about. But I actually think that's going to be an interesting game. I'm excited about it and looking forward to that on Saturday afternoon. Ronald wants to know, Kelsey, y'all are the fantasy gurus. Kelsey hasn't scored a touchdown in 7 weeks. Does he score this week?
I'll tell you, Ronald, I went back and forth for about 20 minutes on whether I was going to take Kelsey anytime touchdown score or Kelsey over in receptions. And the over in receptions, there's a history there, but I really do like Kelsey to score this week.
Spencer, what do you think?
I mean, it's definitely possible, but I'm going to say no. I think the Bills, I think they're going to do enough to slow him down. They're going to key in on him. I don't think the Chiefs have enough other weapons.
Jeff says he thinks the only good game is Kansas City Buffalo. It's too easy. It's too easy for that to be the only good game. That's why I think that there's going to be at least one other good game. I could be wrong about which one it is, but I really think it's going to be Houston and Baltimore. I think both games in the AFC are going to be good. It wouldn't surprise me if we have 3 good games. I got to be honest, and I know this sounds silly, but to me, the only game that I think is a surefire blowout is not the one that y'all all think. I said it before, and I'll say it again. I think the Lions, and I should have probably put a bit of big bucks, but I already had other derivatives of this, so I didn't need to. I think the Lions are going to just smoke the Buccaneers. I guess we'll find out who's right and who's wrong. Jeff Haspel says $2. No, I'd rather bet like a Barks. That costs $2 these days. It's all the same stuff, right? All right, time to go say bye-bye for the day. Final thoughts as we go into the weekend. Gabe Henderson.
Go Texans.
Yeah, that's what I figured you would say. Spence?
Saints please hire an innovative offensive coordinator. Do not go at Ronald Curry.
For me, it's all about datitude. You know, I accidentally said a kind of a potty mouth word here. I don't usually. I'm usually pretty good at not. But in datitude, I say whatever the hell I want. So that's tomorrow, and I will have plenty to say along with Larry Holder here on all these same social media channels at 10 a.m. And then on my podcast, after we're done, I'll have my monologue. That's where I really get into it. I'm going to kind of dissect Mickey Loomis's gum-chewing press conference tomorrow morning. I'm going to try to have a little fun with that. We were chopping wood back in December, and now we're chewing wood. So whatever it is, chewing something. We'll be talking about that tomorrow on Datitude. Hope you all can join me. Until then, we got Datitude tomorrow morning. We'll be back here next Thursday for Bayou Bets. Everyone have a great weekend. Can't wait to talk about the AFC and the NFC championship games. Where will the surprise come from? There's going to be a surprise. We just don't know where it's going to come from yet. Gabe thinks it's in Texas. We'll find out. Talk to you later. Everyone have a great weekend.